She warns him to give up, or she'll crush him into nothing since he clearly can't draw the sword. But Cirrus doesn't back down. He tells her he's underestimated his willpower. With a grin, he keeps lightly brushing his fingers against the sword that is making the sword spirit lose control and scream in frustration. Cirrus is determined, thinking that he still has a shot at winning as long as he hasn't given up. He runs his finger over the sword, challenging the sword spirit to hold on. The sword spirit tightens her fist, feeling this wild sensation coursing through her, and then she digs her nails into the ground. Cirrus is watching her every move. This time, the sword spirit feels the sensations completely differently, and her focus starts to fade. She's determined to stop Cirrus. The intense power of the sword comes back, and the players suggest keeping their distance and backing off. Bella can't handle the pressure and collapses. Cirrus notices his fingers are hurting but keeps gently stroking the sword. The sword spirit is puzzled by how Cirrus can withstand the crushing force and is risking getting squashed, yet still has the energy to tickle her. She wonders if Cirrus has justice and responsibility in his heart and yells at him to stop. As she's starting to lose it, Cirrus gives her another tickle and asks if she can feel it now. The spirit experiences those sensations again and suddenly realizes the sword is changing. The players notice something weird happening around the sword, and one of them shouts, asking what's coming up from the ground. The sword rises and everyone sees it's the slave dragon sword. Cirrus grabs the sword and sets it on the ground, shocking the players. They realize that an F-rank player like Cirrus has pulled the slave dragon sword. The sword spirit feels embarrassed since she tried to stop him from drawing it.